here's the story that the news doesn't want to tell you. And it's something I've been saying for quite a long time, and I'm always met with a great amount of resistance. And I'm not an economist. I just was going based upon what I seen in real life. Um, as someone that came from a working class and below family, where if you listen to my channel, neither of my parents made it past the eighth grade. We didn't have much money, and I've gone on to have quite a bit of success myself. So I've seen both sides. I've been on the broke side, and I've been on the got money side, and that's my perspective, just to give you some background. But something I noticed over the years that I don't see in the news, and just to give you why am I doing this? There's a couple financial like YouTubes I look at that pop up in my feed once in a while, and I left a comment on one because it was talking about how the middle class is shrinking and everyone's going broke. And I left a comment. I'm like, that's not true. There are people that were middle class that are going backwards, but no one ever talks about the fact that a lot of people that were middle class or lower middle class, such as myself, where I came from, um, we went up into the upper middle class or even into the rich categories. And I end up getting a bunch of shitty comments from people based on what they feel or what they think or what they estimate. And I'm like, have you ever went and read an article? Have you ever saw any research? And the answer is no. They're so used to everyone telling them that the middle class is shrinking and the entire middle class is going into poverty. That's the narrative of what's going on. And I realize no one can think for themselves anymore. And no one wants to go find out the answer for themselves. I saw it on the news channel. It must be true. It's bullshit. Why I didn't need this chart is because I always ask the question: who the hell is buying all these three, four, five, and $600,000 houses? You'll notice that a bulk of new houses being built aren't 1,200 square foot houses. They are houses that either require one big income or a dual income. If you've noticed a growth of luxury items, whether it's watches, purses, luxury cars, the entire luxury market has boomed. And I think people are out there convinced that that's just billionaires. That's just the 1% of the 1% spending all their money. Look, man, I usually hear those things from people that's never been around anybody rich in their life. I'll tell you what it's like, the rich people that I know. Nothing changes for them, okay? They spend when they want to spend, however they want to spend. They don't wake up one day and just go on, they start consuming more all of a sudden. They always consumed because they can. When a recession hits, they sit around and go, what recession? Because they don't feel it. So no, you're not seeing a boom at, Louis Vuitton and Audi because the billionaires are buying more shit. It's because more people have more money. Plain and simple. Whether it's the rich or the upper middle class, there's more people with more money. If you look at this chart, you see there's a lot more rich people. This isn't just the rich getting richer, it's more people becoming rich. If you notice the middle class has shrunk. But if you notice, going back to 1980, the lower middle class has shrunk. And if you notice, the poor and near poor has also shrunk. What grew? The rich and the upper middle class. So certainly there are middle class people that have gotten hurt, that went down the lower and lower went to poor. I'm not debating that. There's always going to be people struggling. As we got rid of our manufacturing base, a lot of those middle class jobs were someone who, for whatever reason, didn't have the upward mobility. Those middle class industrial jobs kept them in a decent lifestyle. The issue now is a lot of those jobs are gone, and if you can't up your skill set, then yeah, you get hurt. But if you are able to up your skill set, whether it's in finance or healthcare or technology, then getting to the upper middle class is actually easier now. So what you've seen is the three bottom classes shrink, and the upper middle and the rich grow. You'll never hear the news talk about that. And I get why it goes against the narrative. It's rich people suck. All the billionaires suck. Attack all the greedy people. Blah, 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 blah. It's like more people went to college. And we know if you go to college, technically you end up making more money. Tech jobs pay a shit ton of money. A lot of these finance jobs are paying a boatload of money. There's more economic opportunity out there and upward mobility than there was, let's say, in the 70s. In the 70s, you had to work like 25 years to finally become a manager or director. Now you got 25-year-olds out there that are managers, that are making 80, 90, or $100,000 a year by the time they're 30 years old. Times have changed. But here's the data. This isn't a feeling, it's not a thought, it's not an opinion. I'm looking at some raw data right now. But you can see this in the economy, by the real estate market, by the luxury markets. Looking at how much the travel industry has boomed to more expensive places, where do you think the money's coming from? It's not that the billionaires all of a sudden decided to take 400% more vacations. It's more people have more money. And there's also a lot more dual income households now where maybe they're making 125 and now they make 250 as a family. Things have changed. But again, like I made a comment trying to explain that, and I just get attacked for it by a bunch of people that's never done any research. And I'm guessing I'm getting attacked by the people that are struggling because they don't want to hear this. You don't want to hear that people are doing better. You can't just sit around and think everything's bad all the time. Believe it or not, some people are doing better. Last year sucked. COVID sucked. There seems to be a tremendous amount of jobs out there right now. And this whole, minimum wage sucks. I don't know any company paying minimum wage right now. Who's paying like $7-8 an hour? The McDonald's by me is paying $16 an hour. I saw FedEx paying $18 an hour. At their entry level basic jobs, but if there's two of you in a household, dude, if my father and I joke about this because we worked 2 or 3 crappy jobs. I was a teenager and kind of going to high school occasionally, and then his union was on strike, so we're cleaning car dealerships and medical. We're doing all this shit work to try to stay alive, and we just had a conversation like back then, if he could have got a job for in today's money at $18 an hour, and I could have got one at $18 an hour, 2 people in a household, and we got 40 hours of work a week, we would make $70,000+ as a 2-person team, or if you're a husband and wife or whatever, 2 people working. And we think about what we could have at today's cost with $70,000. It would be a significant. We grew up I had a shit ass apartment. I never want to go back there. That place was terrible. We had kind of crappy cars. For $70,000 a year, we could have a decent little apartment and a couple nice cars, and probably put some money in the bank. In today's money, so we look back and if we could have made that kind of money back then, holy shit. And then one of us, if you just would have worked hard, been dependable, been reliable, you could have maybe become a supervisor, and then eventually became a manager at FedEx. And if one of you is making $18 an hour and one of you is making $25 an hour. Yeah, you're living a decent life. That's a decent middle class life, even with today's inflation. So nobody wants to hear this story, though. It's everyone's getting poor, everyone's broke, everyone's struggling. And as someone that struggled as a child, yeah, I know people struggle. I've had family that lived off welfare their whole fucking life. I've seen it. I've experienced it. I've dealt with it. I know. But to say that the entire middle class, lower middle class, and everyone's just broke, poor, and starving is bullshit. The fact is, this is 2016. Who knows what changed during the Trump era, but I could have swore we saw wage growth. We had low unemployment. Things weren't the best, but they weren't terrible. We had, a reasonable, steady amount of progress through the Obama years. It kind of continued through Trump years, and then COVID hit. Are you telling me that this chart has dramatically changed in 4 years? I'm curious to see. Probably not in the last 18 months because we pumped so much money into the system with unemployment and stimulus. I'm guessing this probably shifted even more. Yeah, believe it or not, the middle class is shrinking, but a lot of people in the middle class and lower middle class are going to the upper middle class because they sent their kids to college, they're in tech, they're in healthcare, they're in finance, or there's a lot of jobs out there that are paying a lot of money. And the new boom of other technologies, electric cars, what people make. You ever look at the amount of six-figure jobs Amazon has? You hate Amazon because of their $15 an hour warehouse jobs, but Amazon created a boatload of six-figure technology jobs. What's going on at Tesla, SpaceX, all these other electric auto manufacturers starting up? The amount of reinvestment that's going into that. There's a tremendous amount of money to be made if you understand technology, engineering, math. Like, there's so many ways to make a lot of money right now. Anyways, I just want to do this episode because for all the people that left me a crappy comment without even doing your research, this is kind of like, hey, take a look. Look at the economy. Look at how luxury goods have boomed. And ask yourself where all that money is coming from. Why do they keep building more and more luxury stores? Why is there's so many luxury goods out there? People are out there spending how much money on Apple Watches and iPhones, the amount of Teslas you see on the road. I can't go anywhere without seeing a Tesla or Audi right now. These are billionaires. This is the upper middle class that are buying these cars. And there's obviously, it's got to at least have doubled since 1980. And the rich have, since early 90s. That's when tech kicked in. Tech kicked in the mid 90s. And you saw all this wealth getting created right here. It's not just an individual rich person getting richer. This is more people getting richer. This is more people becoming upper middle class. We need to look at this and stop this narrative of, I just want to, everyone's poor and broke, and we just got to, do government assistance and hate all the rich people. Yeah, get the rich people to pay their fair share. Got it. Check mark. But look at this and say that there's not at least better upward mobility at the moment for the people that have access to education or have the work ethic and ambition to do so. There's money out there to be made if you want to make it right now. So anyways, the upper middle class is, that's where it's at, man. So here's your data. Love it or hate it, this is what it is. Until then, I'm going to catch you on the next one.